Welcome to Wild X. This is Rhonda Swan. I am so excited to have you here today. Wild X is a platform for speakers to not only share their voice, their message, but to inspire the world.
Everybody doing? So I want to talk to you about a topic today that I think is really important. I call it your midlife moment. But before I go there, I want to talk to you about what midlife is about. What is midlife? Well, people between the ages of 40 and 65. And I kind of think of it as a time when we deal with a life of challenges. You know what I mean? You're getting older, you're feeling vulnerable, you're having health issues, maybe bills, maybe a relationship that's not working, kids, parents aging, maybe dying. And then one day, all of a sudden, you've got this cocktail or blend that's unique to you, and you're stuck. That's kind of how I define your midlife moment. You're stuck. And you don't know what to do next. Before I tell you how to deal with your midlife moment and what to do, let me tell you about mine. So my midlife moment was one for the ages, people. First and foremost, at 50 years old, the big 5-0-H. Stuff was in free fall for me. I was having health issues for the first time. I was feeling like different. My mortality was popping into my head. And I'm like, wow, I feel crappy and there's no answers. It wasn't terminal, it wasn't life-threatening, but it kind of got me worried and anxious. On top of that, both my father and father-in-law were dying. My dad had watched. Decline from Parkinson's disease. Slowly faded away. Broke my heart. And I watched my father-in-law have a stroke. And he was declining at the same moment. My mother and mother-in-law were declining. All four parents struggling. I'm the youngest of three boys. My two older brothers were lost to addiction. And this all happening in my 50th year. One guy was in and out of public housing in New York, calling me in the middle of the night, screaming at me, yelling at me, angry with himself in the world. My other brother, living in Las Vegas, calling me in the middle of the night, suicidal, threatening to kill himself. And now I had watched them decline over time, but now I had no answers. And every minute of every day, I'm struggling with the anxiety, the fear, the worry. What am I going to do with these guys? And they don't listen. They know people with mental issues. And I enable it. Okay, so on top of that, I'm out of a job. Same year. So I built a company called the School of Rock. Over a 3.5-year period, we grew from 5 to 55 schools. We have 50 more on the contract. And if you remember the recession of 2008 and 9, well, I had to find funding because we got out in front of our skis a little bit, sold to a private equity firm. And 1 year later, they do what private equity does. I got the boot. They brought in their own CEO, and that's what they do. So now I'm out of a job. This company that I built after transitioning my career from the media business, and I had such a passionate connection to it. Does it stop? And then there's Alex, my 16-year-old, severely autistic, nonverbal, disabled son, has a complete psychiatric breakdown. Alex declined over a 3-month period of time. He got kicked out of the school that he was in that cared for the most serious kids. Came home, we didn't know what to do. She pulled my hair out and said, Dan, we had to get him to a hospital because he needed critical care. They got him to a psychiatric ward in Westchester County in New York. And that night, we left him there. He was looking up at me, shackled down in the bed. Couldn't talk, couldn't say, Dad, what's going on? What do I do? You could see the fear in his eyes. And there were drug-addicted teens here and suicidal teens a mile away. I went home that night. I went in the basement. My wife, Susan, went to her room, and I sat in the basement. I remember like it was yesterday. And I said, is this it? Is this it? Is this my life? This is going to be my life for the rest of my life? I fought so hard to get out of the streets of Queens and have success in business, found a lady who I love. How could this happen to me all at once? And I sat there, and then a thought popped into my head and said, are you going to fold? Pretty weird question to ask yourself when you're down. Are you going to fold, loser? And then I had another thought that popped in my head and said, or are you going to grow? Grow or fold. Grow or fold, in that moment, became my mantra. I never discussed it with anybody. I didn't know what I was going to do the next morning, but I knew I was going to get in the game and figure it out. Grow or fold is also the title of my new book. It comes out in January. I hope you have a chance to check it out. So, not sure that your midlife moment is exactly mine, but you know it when you're there. And it's defined by this moment when you do not know what to do next. There's fear, there's anxiety, there's worry, maybe depression, maybe alcohol, maybe other things. So what do you do? Let me tell you what I do, and I think that might be. I had this novel idea, which I thought was novel. Why don't you treat yourself like a business? Treat yourself like a business. What does that mean? Well, first of all, it means get emotional about what you're dealing with. Do what you do in business. I had always been good at building strategy and vision and plans and executing, but not always for myself and my family. So I took an inventory of what was really broken, rank order, prioritize them, like we do, and I went to work. Went to work one step at a time. 2 weeks later, we got Alex out of the psychiatric ward, and I leaned in on experts, and we got him to a residential school 3 months later in Maryland. Now, he was on his journey, and he needed to actually grow and rise to the occasion himself, independent of us, as hard as that was. On top of that, I created an MVP plan. MVP, my vision plan. So this was going to be my only time in midlife. My only time to figure out what I wanted the future to look like when I was over 60, 65. Leave the club. I went to work on myself. I invested in my growth. There's 3 areas of growth that I invested in. Functional growth. How do I get better, smarter, and build a better toolkit to manage my life? Emotional growth. How do I deal with you? Drug-addicted brothers. I went to Al-Anon, I found a therapist. I went to work on my own self, my anger and impulsivity, my tendency to drink too much to put out the fire. And then the last thing, I went to work on my creative growth. Guess what I did? I started in art school. In art school, I hadn't taken an art class since I was 14. Never took one art history class. Today, 100% in 15 locations in 6 states. And we're building this business to teach through the lens of living artists to transform art education. So I can tell you more and more about my journey, but in 2018 I reflected what place I got to and decided to write a book and share. Now I'm here trying to help people. And along the way I found my purpose, positive, and to help people find the magic and their creative inspiration. So before I wrap up, I have a simple question, and you know what it is. When you're facing your midlife moment, as they say, what you going to do? You're going to fold, or you're going to grow. Lean in on growth, invest in yourself like a great company, figure out your plan, get great people in your life, and go to work one step at a time. Thank you.